Hey guys, so before we start, just want to say hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We are a little bit down in the amount of videos that we've been giving you guys concerning gaming, but we love the fact that we're steadily growing at a decent pace. But we'd like to do a little bit more for our audience. In any event, thank you guys for tuning in. Check out the Kingslayer.com. That's www.thekingslayer.com, where you can find this video, find more content on gaming, and also our podcast links at the bottom will be there. So recently, Microsoft's Xbox Phil Spencer, who is the head of the gaming division there, sat down with The Verge and talked about what the pipeline and roadmap, as well as his observations, as well as opinions of the gaming industry are. So quickly, let's start with this. The road to the Xbox Series X and S platforms releasing this generation were meant to be a way to bring in more gamers at different levels. One being with a lower price point, which is the Xbox Series S, and then the premium customer who's looking for the premium console experience with the Xbox Series X. The question is, from a consumer standpoint, is the Xbox Series X and Series S actually positioned in the correct way that would allow gamers to enter into the ecosystem of Xbox the way that Microsoft and Phil Spencer envision? And I'd say yes, as well adding that it's also a little too early to tell. The reason being is that with this year being a COVID-19 year, with this also being a year that many gamers have felt the sting of both financial calamity as well as the world over, and health-wise, they were dealing with a lot. Development of games and being able to put out a console has been strained. We're already seeing that both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series consoles are, for as well as they've tried, are not able to get to as many gamers for numerous reasons. One, the manufacturing of game consoles is they can only do but so much. Number two, scalpers and people who are looking to resell the game consoles for a premium buck are using sophisticated systems online to grab hold of inventory that's making it hard for others. Both, at the retail level, retailers aren't really doing too much to institute things to thwart this practice of scalping and buying stuff up before people who really genuinely want to play and own these consoles are. At the same time, you have a company that I believe is either Best Buy or Walmart. One of these two institutions have implemented a lengthy authentication process that will allow more tangible people to be able to purchase a console or pre-order the console. I'd say purchase the console, not pre-order it. Phil Spencer also went into what took place without going into much detail about their perspective, his perspective, as well as Bonnie Ross's perspective on Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite was meant to come out this year. Halo Infinite was meant to be a launch game title with the Xbox Series X and S. For whatever reason, or numerous reasons I like to say, including COVID-19, the game just was not ready. And we've heard rumblings for many months now, I'd say over the year, that there were some development issues with Halo Infinite's development process, as well as environment and what they were trying to do. And ultimately, the delay of Halo Infinite, I believe, alongside with Phil Spencer in this interview, that it's a good thing. The reason it's a good thing is because of Several reasons. Number one, with the changing of key people, and without trying to totally 100% restructure Halo Infinite, which I believe is the target, make changes that are incrementally strong and sufficient without breaking the development of the title down to its core starting point, is not what they want to achieve. What they want to achieve is what I said, which is incremental, strong, foundational element changes that do not break the structure of the game's overall development. And so in doing that, you also add in the fact that Microsoft, who was late to have the full RDNA 2 capabilities in their chips from AMD, now have that. This is going to allow the Halo Infinite on the Xbox series of consoles to be far superior than those that will exist on the Xbox One, which is the previous generation. That includes the Xbox One S, which is the Xbox white console that people have last generation, and the Xbox One X. Okay? The One X is going to be very capable. You may have 4K textures on that game, but it may run at a 4K 30 as opposed to a 4K 60 or 4K 120 hertz performance mode, if there is one on the Xbox Series X and S. If you're on the Xbox Series S, you may not, you won't get 4K textures. You may get Xbox One textures that are upgraded and use refined specific aspects of the Xbox Series S chip platform. It sounds confusing. It sounded confusing to me saying it, but when you actually see as the content comes out, we don't know when, it's going to be a very interesting time. The other part of the interview that is significant that Phil Spencer spoke about was the acquisition of Bethesda and what it meant going forward for the roadmap of games. Specifically, one of the things he mentioned talking about that roadmap was how Starfield, a game by Bethesda, is a game that he wants to keep solely on the Xbox, and talking about his promise to Xbox gamers. And when we say Xbox, we're not just talking about the Xbox game console, we're talking about the Xbox ecosystem that exists on console, that exists on PC, that also exists on xCloud via Game Pass. His conversation about streaming through the cloud versus local hardware like an Xbox or PC console was very interesting as well. The reason why it was interesting was the fact that from Microsoft's perspective, there are going to still be hardware from a local perspective as well as cloud. What they see is, they see this as a hybrid, as more or less a way to have all of the connections that you would have at home through a game console that has compute power as well as the compute power in the cloud. And this complementary version of doing that, I think is very clear. Another aspect of the video that, the interview, that Phil talked about was the fact that with Starfield, we haven't heard much about that game because the Bethesda deal is still in a form where they're ironing out things on a legal aspect and getting the paperwork and getting all of the due diligence done before it's finalized. So when you look at what Microsoft has in the potential of bringing on Bethesda and having a 23 studio hold, we're looking at a form of games that are going to change the dynamic of the conversation around Xbox. And that, from an exclusive standpoint, as well as a Game Pass standpoint, is something that Phil Spencer was talking about, and I think it came through in this interview in a way that puts in perspective what we heard from last week from the CFO of Microsoft, who spoke about what he believed the acquisition of Bethesda meant in terms of has it related to other platforms like the PlayStation 5, and wanting to have the best version of Bethesda games exclusively on on Game Pass and Xbox Series X and xCloud and through PC, but sounding as if you would see these games also on PlayStation. Now, we don't know which side of the fence is fully the truth. What I think is going on, I think that Microsoft is giving us two different perspectives to look at the Bethesda acquisition and exclusive gaming content and Game Pass. And that is this. That is the fact that coming out and fully saying games are going to be exclusive will be a very hard sell when you don't have a deal supremely done. There's also the aspect of having backlash from the community of gamers as well as media criticizing this deal. Now, there's different schools of thought on this. My perspective is that in the long run, it's going to be beneficial for Microsoft as well as the media and even the vocal naysayers to have Bethesda games exclusive on the Xbox ecosystem. And I think ultimately that's what it's going to do. Because here's the caveat to what the CFO mentioned last week. And that caveat is this, right? How are you able to justify having one system, having a full-blown, fully articulated, fully enhanced, fully optioned, robust environment for an exclusive game, and then tell the audience of another platform you're getting a much more vanilla version? You're not getting the best version, but hey, if you want, you could pay $70 for this game. Because that's ultimately what's happening when you see any type of Bethesda game, if it does launch on the PlayStation 5. You're getting a lesser version. I don't see gamers who are worth their salt going out and buying a lesser version of a game just because they want the game. Will there be some customers? Absolutely. There's always exceptions to the rule. But overall, I don't see sales being robust if, in fact, on the main competing platform, you're getting a much more richer, deeper experience. So is it better to do something like that or better to keep it exclusive? My take on this is that it's better to keep it exclusive. This way you allow gamers to be able to experience it on their own and get into the ecosystem. This benefits Game Pass to continue to grow its subscriber base, to allow for more games to be created from studios, more acquisitions, and just giving the overall identity of the Xbox platform a much more richer one. There were other parts of this video, this interview, and I'm going to link it below that you guys can check out. I think it's really telling that Phil Spencer has been able to really provide us really great information from a PR perspective on giving us a landscape identity of what Xbox has been planning. When you think about COVID-19 and you think about what has been put out, it's still a great feat to be able to have an Xbox Series X or an Xbox Series S in your home to enjoy. Are there some growing pain issues with the platform? Absolutely. Right now, one of the growing pains that we're seeing is that there are parts of code and parts of games and aspects of games that aren't fully utilizing the power of the console, that have really unique issues that need to be ironed out. We're also seeing that the PlayStation 5 right now, because of early development kits that were given out and developers were able to really get in a hold of the PlayStation 5, we're able to really do well. So when you see comparisons currently out there of games on the Xbox Series X as well as on the PlayStation 5, they're really holding up neck and neck. And the conversation of disparity between the performance of both consoles in terms of their tech specs isn't apparent now. And as a first generation games that we're seeing right now, you're not going to see that. Does this mean that with the specs of the Xbox Series X being better than the PlayStation 5, that you won't see PlayStation 5 games get better over time? Absolutely not. The history of gaming is that when you have a brand new console generation, games tend to be a little bit on the anemic side in terms of features, in terms of production value, in terms of overall prowess. At the same time, these games still look fantastic. They still run exceptionally well. They may have some issues here and there, but we're not in a generation anymore where games are less likely to be experienced from a fun factor, be fun, and be visually stunning. Although most games right now aren't fully utilizing, even when you talk about the engines, and even when you talk about the games themselves, they're still in a state where they look fantastic. A game like Demon's Souls looks fantastic on the PlayStation 5. Spider-Man Miles Morales looks fantastic on it. And we're just scratching the surface. So yes, Microsoft is just getting started with their development. We're seeing games that are neck and neck. Who knows what a year from now games will look like, or 2 years from now. So at the start of this generation, it's just interesting. I'm going to stop the video here. It's been anybody who's still here with this video, I really thank you guys. We love you guys over here at the Gamer Life Show. We really think it's a great time to be a gamer, and we'll have more content coming up for you soon. Like for you guys, again, hit that like and subscribe button. And again, my friends, welcome to the Gamer Life. Peace.